Lee Kelson from Beach City, coming to you live again from Jakarta at the Indonesian Australian Digital Forum, and I'm here with.
Nayoko Wicaksano.
I'm glad you said that for me. And that Nayoko, that name is.
It's a old Sanskrit name from Indonesia, so it means patience. But I'm not very patient actually. I'm trying to be. That's my aspiration.
You and me both. I'm not very patient either. Now, your company, Algorithma, right? So, tell us about that.
Yeah, we're a data science school. We train data scientists in 3 to 6 months program, and we graduate them and find them a job. So we do corporate trainings, and this is how we get the idea of doing boot camps, because these corporates all need talent. So this is where we supply them with the talent.
Yeah. So it's interesting because the whole changing new economy, new skills, people need to be reskilled, younger people need to be looking for things beyond the traditional degree, right? Because it's not necessarily going to stand them in the same good stead that when our parents said you go and get a degree, right?
Exactly.
So how important is it for young people to be looking into this area of data science?
Definitely, because data is the future, right? Everything that we do, we need to create a system of intelligence, which essentially, if you create an app without the intelligence, your app is worth nothing because you don't actually learn and measure anything, right? So this is where we actually come in, corporates as well. We want to make sure that they can actually compete with the new digital economy that's coming in, right? So one of the area where we specialize in is practical application knowledge. So we're different than academics, where it's more theoretical, but we actually use real-world data in this case.
Right. So practical experience.
Yes, is the keyword.
So interestingly, there was a World Economic Forum report that came out last year that said the top 3 skills are going to be critical thinking, problem solving, and creative thinking.
Right.
I do some work with some of the schools, and they sort of say, well, what should we do? Are robots and automation going to take our jobs, right? So are robots and automation going to take our jobs?
Yeah, I mean, especially in advanced countries like Australia, US, I can totally see that happening because at the end, economics always wins, right? They always, even when we try to resist by having labor union and so forth, economics always win, and the businesses always prefer ways to cut costs and make things more efficient. So how do we reshift this labor force into a more ready labor force, right? So if we don't do this soon enough, it's going to be too late because the pace of the technology changes right now is accelerating. It's not decelerating.
No, it's definitely at breakneck speed, and so we're seeing the emergence of big data, and people say, well, what is big data? I mean, what's big data for people that don't really understand?
Right. So big data is just a general big concept of data, essentially. Big data is just back then. Data is small enough that you can actually use Excel spreadsheet to work on it, but now data is so big, there's so many variables, it has like millions of columns that Excel cannot handle it. It will crash. So there needs to be a new approach, a new system to actually churn out and actually manipulate this data for your purposes.
Yeah. So one of the other things I think is interesting, and I spoke to a big data scientist a couple of months ago, and he was saying that whilst we're going to be automating a lot of this, and the robots and all of that are going to really take part, but somebody's actually getting the creative side and the critical thinking and problem solving side is where the skills are going to be, because someone's going to have to sit there and actually look at that data and say, now how do we make sense of it, and how do we make something out of it?
Yes, interesting enough, this is going to be, at least for the next 20, 30 years, I think that part will survive, but just be warned, don't be warned, but I think, again, the robots are coming to that side too, like the AI, right? Because essentially what's happening in our head, it can be interpreted into codes or logic, essentially, which then the AI can automate as well in the future. So in the short term, this would work, but then in the long term, we have to find a solution on how to overcome this new changes.
So I think definitely, from my perspective, data science is a huge emerging area. So for young people that are looking into this area or scratching their head saying, what do I do with my future? I love computing.
Definitely data science. I mean, the average salary around the world for a starting salary is around 70K a year annually. And it just keeps rising because there's so much demand, but not enough supply of data scientists around. You can imagine in Australia, more advanced, there's a shortage, but in Indonesia, it's even more. So
Yeah.
that's why we're here. We're trying to make sure that the country actually catch up to the rest of the world.
Yep.
Otherwise, we're just going to be pummeled by all these AI companies around the world. And governments are investing so much money into AI. Like the leaders are going to be China and Russia, and the U.S. is going to be falling behind. As you can see, the investments in AI are decreasing there instead of increasing.
Yeah. And I also saw a statistic the other day saying that, there's 48% probability. There's a site called willrobotstakemyjob.com, and you can go and put in the job, and it comes back and tells you.
Yeah.
And it came up and it said that computer programmers 48% likelihood, and the caption down below was start worrying.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, look, if you combine this with quantum computing, wow, explosion right there. It's
Yeah.
going to be so powerful. There's even talks of like predicting earthquake. Like that's a really difficult problem to actually solve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things I notice in Indonesia, the people we're talking to, is that they really seem to be putting their mind to solving real world problems for poverty, for people in rural areas, and it seems to be that there's a lot of a lot of apps that come out that I think are useless, and they maybe they
A
make
lot of vanity apps, right?
vanity apps. Okay, that's a good way. That's a good way. But I see that people here seem to be focused more on actually solving real world problems.
That's right, because in Indonesia, the problems are so vast. There's so many challenges that there is actually a lot of opportunities to actually automate a lot of things and make things better for people. Like, for example, in Indonesia, unemployment is on the rise because, again, jobs are shifting through technology as well, and we need to find ways to use technology while still employing others. One of the startup that I really think is working well is like Gojek. I'm pretty sure some of you are familiar. If not, it's basically a ride-hailing app to start with. But you're able to do everything in that app. You can order food, you can order groceries, you can do anything in that app, and that's employing the labor force essentially and helping the economy as a whole. So that we need more of those kind of apps, not just apps that just automate jobs and take away jobs, but also able to employ some of the workforce that are not able to adapt themselves fast enough.
Yeah. So, final question. I guess a typical degree, 4-year degree. My belief is that by the time you've done the first 2 years, everything you learn's been outmoded anyway, because the technology, as you say, is moving so quickly, and also it can be very expensive. It can be prohibitive for some of these young people out in some of the rural areas. So, what's the advice to them? And they say, I want to do that, but I can't afford a $40,000 degree. Right?
Yeah, I mean, like boot camps like ours, the cost a fraction of that. Right. And it's much shorter time. That's why it's more practical as well. Right. So what we claim to do is we graduate people to become ready to become employable, not to become an expert. Because in order for you to become an expert at the data, you need to work in that particular company, understand deeply their data and their logic and their practicality.
Right. Yeah, that sounds fantastic. So it's sort of like a bit of a crash course, intense crash course to get you to a position where you can actually go and get a job and work in that industry.
Your skills are there.
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, it's been fantastic talking to you. All the best with Algoritma. And
Algoritma.ma.
Okay. So where can they find you?
Algoritma.ma. That's .ma.
.ma. And are you on social as well? Can they?
Yes. Team Algoritma is our social media everywhere, so you can find it on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and others. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks very much for talking to us. Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Good to meet you.
Cheers.